Excuse Andy, he's sat on a plug.
Not recently. Right, okay, let's check if we're live, Dave. I think we're hopefully coming through. Let's get the old phones out. Let's have a look.
Yep.
And we'll come back to the comments.
The commentios.
The commentios, yeah. Sorry, yeah, sorry, if you have just joined us, we're just checking if we're live, just checking we're coming through loud and strong.
Yeah.
Just seeing who is on the live. Yeah, here we go. Nice. Dave, we are in the game. We are back.
I'm still trying to get access to questions and comments.
Is that what it is?
Yeah. So I think it's young Victoria.
Oh, fantastic.
The dancing Yatai.
Great stuff.
Hey, 𝘠𝘂𝘀𝗱, he's joined.
He has. And nice to see you. If you have joined us as usual, just a little comment, just to say hello. Nice to see who's on. Always see if we have any familiar faces.
Yeah.
It's been a bit of a weird month, isn't it? So me and you have well, obviously weren't here last week.
No, where were we last week? I think I was off work.
Yes, you were.
Did I have a day off?
Something like that, yeah. I think you were off on leave, yeah.
Yeah. I think I had a day off, so we decided to have a day off from providing quality entertainment of a lunchtime.
Lunchtime, yeah.
I'll be honest, so far it's just us and Dave.
I know, Dave. It's good to see you here.
Welcome, Dave. Any questions, mate? Please feel free to ask, because so far you're the only person who's showing up on our screen.
It's interesting. I think it's because the normal tool we use, it normally tells us roughly who is on, but we can't see at the moment. So
hang on a minute. EverTrek here. EverTrek. So welcome, Dave and EverTrek. So Dave, yeah, you have qualified for today's first mano a mano.
He is. I know he's all on his own, but we hopefully will get a few more. Here we go. Stuart's arrived. Here we go. We'll get some of the. Normally, as the time ticks on, we get a few more EverTrekkers on here.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was a bit of a random one today, but I say a weekend before the one just gone, myself and Dave were up in Scotland.
Yeah.
And Stuart was there, which was it was great to see you, Stuart.
Yeah, was.
And we were on the Glencoe Challenge, and it was absolutely fantastic. And we're always looking for inspiration on, especially when it comes to Tuesday tuning, what to talk about, because we've talked about literally hundreds of different subjects now over the last kind of couple of years, and it was an interesting event actually on the Glencoe Challenge, which we'll come on to, and it kind of guided our thoughts today, didn't it?
It did, yeah. I mean, I'm going to try and actually find some, because I know there's photographic evidence that we can upload.
Okay.
Interesting. It gave us the inspiration about what we were actually going to talk about today, which was, as you can probably guess by the title, something to do with footwear.
Something to do with footwear. So it is to do with a boot.
Yeah,
but not this boot. This is definitely not exploding. This is one of my Equilibriums, B2 boots. Fantastic. Use them on the winter skills course up in Scotland, which is absolutely fantastic. I used it on 𝘧𝘂𝗀𝘆. So yeah, very, very good boot, that one. Not kind of classic trekking boot, but we do see people wearing that.
Yeah.
Whilst trekking in, say, North Wales or Brecon Beacons. Probably a bit overkill, though, I'd say, if you just stick into actual trekking. Although, you can get away with it. It depends if you like your sort of sole a little bit firmer.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really, really good. But yeah, essentially, what Dave's trying to dig out the photos there.
Only because I think it's worth looking at. Because there's a lot of interesting information that's wrapped up in this. Perseverance, not giving up, but also correct maintenance.
Yeah, there's so much when it comes to boots, and ultimately, especially if you're going on a trek, you're going to Everest Base Camp, you're going to Kilimanjaro, 𝘧𝘂𝗀𝘆, K2 Base Camp, wherever you're going, you're going to need some decent footwear.
Yeah.
Now we've done specific lives on boots itself, the choice of boots, that kind of thing. We're going to talk a little bit more about how to essentially maintain them, and to look after your boots and also make them last longer. Because when we met, this lovely guy,
Doug.
It was Doug, was it? Yeah, and also one of his friends as well at the time, and I was probably about 5-10 minutes ahead of Dave on the Glencoe Challenge, because we were chatting with other EverTrekkers as well, and it was great to see heaps of other EverTrekkers on the trails taking on the challenge.
Yeah.
And I got chatting to them and almost like, well, what's going on there? I hope you're okay. And because literally his foot was it was literally kept together with like a sock, a hairband, and it was essentially what didn't look like your average boot. So me kind of thinking, and Dave, being the hero he is, did bring spare boots. Now this was kind of thought out.
Not necessarily. I've just sent you the images,
awesome.
so yeah,
Okay.
I'll take over. Yeah, not necessarily spare boots. It was because I didn't have 2 pairs of boots.
Yeah.
What I did was, having done the Glencoe challenge previously, I knew that the bog section is an absolute nightmare to get through. And knowing how heavy it was raining, I thought there's no way around this. I'm going to be on about mile 7.5, 8 by the time I'm done, and I'm going to have what turned out it was 27.6 miles. In the end, and I thought I really don't want to do that with completely soaked, ruined boots. So I packed some trail running shoes.
Yeah,
because I knew that once you get through the bog, it's not particularly difficult terrain. So I would use my trail running shoes, and I was carrying my boots, which were all wet. And I'd actually decided at this point that I was going to leave them at the leisure centre on the halfway point.
Okay.
Just so as not to carry the extra weight. And talking to an EverTrek customer, making my way down, I see Andy chatting to this person, and then another person was sat on the floor, and I thought, oh, I wonder what's gone on here.
Yeah.
And as I walked up, I saw the single biggest boot failure I have ever witnessed in my life. Like, I honestly thought that they had it was like a boot explosion.
That's what he had said, right? He had said literally his boots had literally exploded.
Yeah.
Or disintegrated, and which was and we never seen that happen before.
It was mad though, because we'll wait till we can upload the pictures so we can kind of talk them through. But I really admired this guy, because the Glencoe challenge is extremely tough. He had just completed one of the toughest sections, which is the bog, worst it's been in any year. And once you get through that bog, if your boots completely give up, there's an option just to walk back down a path, get onto a road, and head back.
Yeah.
And it's probably what I would have done. Like, for me, I would have thought, like, that's game over. My boots are ruined. Like, what can I do? I can't continue. But the guy persevered for 6 miles.
Fair dues. And I don't think his feet were in good condition at that point.
No.
Pretty tough.
By which time, when I met him, I looked at him and I felt so bad for him, because people ahead were trying to source boots for him and they couldn't do it. So he was staring down the barrel of not being able to complete the challenge. And I could see it in his eyes that it didn't occur to him, like it wasn't an option. And obviously then at which point I thought, hang on, there's a win-win here. Like, he needs a pair of boots. I want rid of the weight in my rucksack.
I was going to say, there was a big smile across Dave's boots. Dave's face. Dave's boots. Like your boots smile.
Yeah, his boots were smiling.
They certainly weren't smiling. But if I will bring his image, actually. There we go. There's the actual boots.
Yeah.
Just to show you how fair dues, he'd kept that going for 6 miles.
Yeah.
And then towards the halfway marker, then he was both looking a bit ropey there.
But he's wearing my boots there.
Oh, is he?
Yeah. So he'd already. That's at the leisure centre at the halfway point where we bumped into him, and he But those boots, though, when we look at them,
they are pretty crazy.
They're held together with spare socks that he put over the boot. That he then when they fell apart, he used a hair bobble to try and hold them together. The white bit you see at the bottom, that's actually under the rubber. Yeah, there's like this crazy hard plate. That's what that is. And his feet were like poking out like a tongue from the boots. I'd never seen anything like it.
And it certainly raised, it was a few bits. And I asked him, I said, how long have you had these? The type of questions you ask people when you see your boots like that. And he'd had them for over 10 years. And to be fair, he did say, look, he knew that they were coming to the end of life. He really just wanted to push them just that little bit further. And to be fair to him, he said, he made a bit of a boo-boo there. He thought that maybe he should have used one of his newer boots. And it's quite interesting because we've obviously got a few bits today, especially around maintaining your boots, and some of it is kind of common knowledge. It's probably stuff you're doing already, but we're going to go through the bits anyway, and just how you can maximize the length of your boot essentially, in terms of how long you make them last. Because especially if you're going on a trek like Everest Base Camp or Kilimanjaro or Machu Picchu, whatever it is, hopefully it's not your last. Hopefully it's first, or it could be like your second or third. But you know, you want ones that you don't just want for one trip. You want them to last you for several trips.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, this kind of reminded us at the thought, right, let's talk about maintaining these things. Then.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, he got 10 years worth of work, you know.
Pretty good.
But
that's pretty good.
I gotta think they must have been, because the bog killed them, because going through the bog, like there was a point when I was up to my knee. You know, it was so.
Well, we both fell over, didn't we?
Yeah, it was madness. I hate trekking through bogs. It's my least favorite terrain. But it was so wet.
Yeah.
And it's dirty and smelly and wet, and you're in there for about an hour and a half, 2 hours, and it's really just hard going. And I think his boots got so saturated that whatever sort of glue was holding them together, they just completely just.
Imagine that.
But they broke in layers.
Yeah.
Like the top part broke apart, the middle bit broke open, and then the bottom gave way.
It's interesting. Anyone on the live today have any issues with boots like that before? Any boot stories? Always keen to hear. Obviously, we've had many times kind of nightmares when it comes to boots.
Yeah.
It's always one of those things, isn't it? Really important part of the equipment you're going to use on any trek, on any hike, whatever time of year. As soon as moisture gets involved, they kind of got to pop, don't they?
You've got to look after them. So my boots that I gave him, when I gave them to him, they were completely drenched. I mean, I actually apologized. I was like, sorry, mate, these aren't in bad condition, but they were held together well.
Yeah.
They were a size and a half too big for him, but you know, beggars can't be choosers. Yeah. But as soon as I got back home, so my boots now are in my car. I should have brought one up actually. Because
the
hero boots, but immediately when I got back, if you want to make sure that they have some longevity in them, you've got to look after them. You can't let them just soak and deteriorate with all that, so dry them out.
Yeah.
I looked at them, I thought, wow, these need more than drying out. So I gave them a really properly good, thorough clean.
Yeah.
Then I put these sort of, they're these crazy, they're like bananas they are, and you put them in your boots.
That was on my list actually.
Was it with
they're like half a coat hanger, aren't they? They kind of go in,
And that it took all the moisture out of the boot.
Interesting.
They like dehumidify it, which is really good. So what I did was I gave them a really good clean. Then I had to get all the moisture out of them.
Yeah.
Then I can reproof. So those boots now are as good as new and are no worse for wear. But I suspect what happened is that when you've got your boots and you know. I do like the romantic nature of like that pair of boots. They've never been cleaned. They've lasted me 10 years. But eventually
they need to boot heaven.
Yeah, you need to turn them into flower pots.
You know, that's a good, like we've got here. These were actually
they were a gift.
They were a gift from
that was from Kate.
Kate, was it?
Yeah.
Christmas gift.
This is actually.
Thank you so much, Kate.
Do you know where these are from? These are amazing.
Here or something.
Other end of the spectrum, Harrods.
Poundland. Oh wow, really?
These are.
I was going to go.
I'm so protective over these because
Harrods.
We put them on the tree, and I'm like, I don't even want them on the tree because I don't want to break them. But these are little trekking boot Christmas ball from Harrods.
Thinking you're going to drop those.
No, it's okay. I've got a good grip.
I literally bought.
But they're great. These are like 𝘂𝘓𝘂𝘆.
Literally exploded. They are like 𝘂𝘓𝘂𝘆𝘆, aren't they? Fair dues, Kate. Thank you so much. Yeah, Kate was. We were trekking with Kate. Well, a couple of times now, but definitely in Morocco last year. In October. We did 𝘂𝘂𝘆 together, and she was absolute legend.
Yeah.
It's now going on a couple more trips, which is awesome. But yeah, when it comes to those boots, so clearly, you know, there's definitely a level, isn't it? You don't want to take them too far where you're going to be on a trip and they just disintegrate. And, you know, as Dave said, you want to make some use out of them because you want to create memories with these boots, don't you? You know, if you're going to spend a couple of £100 on something, you want. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, before we get because we've got some specific points about what we can actually do to kind of look after your boots. Are we gone?
I will.
It says oops. Okay, now we should be fine. Okay, so yeah, there's a couple. One of the things that we actually learned. So we have a really good team that we work with that helps us on our training weekends.
Yeah.
And one of the things that me and Andy were taught right at the very beginning when we did our winter skills training, way back when, was about something called rep. WREP. I always think of it like before you go on a trek, you need to wrap up warm.
Yeah.
You know,
very good.
But each, obviously, it stands for something. So W is weather, R is for route, E is for equipment, and P is for people. These are the main factors that you need to consider when planning any sort of route. Okay, what's the weather going to be like? That'll dictate, you know, whether it's achievable, how long we're going to be out, what we're going to do, what equipment we need. The route, that is also informed by the weather and also what equipment you need. Then you get onto equipment, and then obviously who's with you. You know, you're not everyone's going to be able to do everything. And I think that that's one of the things that I did almost subconsciously now, and I realized I did it when I did the Glencoe challenge.
Yeah,
because I looked at it, I was like, route. Okay, well, I know the route. That's set out. That's a challenge.
You can't really go wrong with that. Well,
yeah,
we could meet a couple of people who've gone the wrong way.
Exactly. The weather. So first of all, I considered the weather.
Yeah.
I knew that it was raining in Scotland a lot. So I knew that was going to make the terrain really, really difficult.
Yeah.
The route, okay, I knew the route, and it contained a bog section. If it's been raining for a week before you do your challenge and you've got to go through a bog, you've got a pretty good idea of what that's going to be like. So then I went on to equipment.
Yeah.
That led me to believe, okay, I'm going to want to bring a spare set of like trail shoes to wear because my boots are going to be soaked.
Yeah.
My socks are going to be soaked. That's going to mean they're going to be uncomfortable. They're going to be slipping. I'm going to more likely to get blisters. So I need dry shoes. And then people, I was going with Andy, so I didn't have to worry about it. But yeah, and I think that that guy there, Dougie, amazing guy. If he knew about rep, he probably would have got to E.
He would have made a few different choices.
Had a look at his boot and thought, do you know what?
Agreed.
Probably going to need a different set for this.
Yeah, that's a good point, Dave. Because when you're thinking about you took some backup boots.
Yeah.
A lot of people didn't though. And
no, a lot of people
because
didn't.
Like me, I took one, and to be fair, I think if I really thought about it, the back end of that challenge, which is pretty much like 14-15 mile.
Yeah.
The second half. It's you're gonna get wet. It doesn't matter what boots you have, you're gonna get wet. I don't know if there was anyone on the live like Stuart who was on the live today. How it went with your feet. If you kept them dry. But yeah, certainly I know because we were we were in wave B. The second half was really, really wet. So it was everyone was wet, everyone was screaming with their blisters. It sounds lovely, doesn't it? Definitely type 2 fun. But it was absolutely fantastic when you get to the end and you see your mates there. It's like, hey, I said, well done, guys.
It was type 2 fun.
it was, yeah.
Yeah. Genuinely now, I do think that I'm probably retired from the Glencoe challenge.
Yeah.
So I've done it 2.5 times now, and the only reason I did it this time was because the half that I did in the middle, I failed because my knee gave out, and I thought, well, you know what, I want to know that that my knee's capable.
Yeah.
So come back a couple of years later, and did it.
Exactly. But, smashed it. And hey, Diane, how you doing? Nice to see you back on.
Oh, hey, Diane, how's it going? Yeah,
hope all is well.
Diane's gearing up for a future trek, I can see.
Yeah, she is, of course. Loves it. No, great to see you back on, mate. And it's always great to see you in and around the community. I know it's been a kind of really challenging couple of months, mate, for you. So yeah, great to see you back. And,
100%.
Thanks for email as well. Great to kind of catch up, and I know Vix will be calling you this afternoon, definitely.
Yeah.
But yeah, going back to boots then, and a biggie, and I suppose this is right. Certainly after Glencoe, was the cleaning part of boots. I think it's something that I certainly over the years, and this is more of do as I say, not what I do, because even though I have the best intentions of cleaning my boots, sometimes they do just go next to the radiator.
I'll be honest, I've seen your Mayville boot hands. I don't genuinely. Have you ever treated them?
Yeah, no, I have.
You have?
Yeah. I bought especially because they're leather. I bought the treatment.
I looked at yours the other day. They were looking a bit anemic, to be honest with you. They were like, they're supposed to be brown, and they were like this pale, sickly grey.
Well, they gotta look like they've been used.
Yeah.
They can't look shiny, otherwise people will be like, what are they talking about? It's just...
You are right though. I mean, like, this is best advice. Not everyone looks after their kit as well as they should. I don't know anyone that's sort of
you can try and aim to be the best, right?
Although I'm a little bit anal about making sure that my boots and my jacket stay waterproof.
True.
So I do reproof them a lot.
Yeah.
But actually my thoughts around waterproofing, I've been recently, like, this is the level of nerd you're dealing with. is after a while, I scare
We need a nerd alarm.
I think so, yeah. Quite often I'll buy a load of kit and then it teeters out. I never stop buying kit, but it'll teeter down.
Well, especially because it's Prime Day today. I guarantee you're buying something new today.
Exactly. And then, but then that kit will last me a year, maybe 2 years, maybe 3. And then I'll think, I need to renew some kit. And then it shoots back up again. But when it shoots back up, I'm like, okay, I gotta re-engage. I gotta learn about stuff. And I've been doing a lot of research regarding waterproofs. In terms of how effective Gore-Tex is, and I've learned an awful lot. And my mindset's slightly changing on it now.
Okay, so where does it sit now?
Well, I mean,
what's the
there are some, I mean, okay, this is segueing, but let's take jackets for instance.
Okay.
You know, I had always gone by what the label on the jacket says, and that would say that Gore-Tex Pro is probably the best that you can get. And you know, you're going to pay £400 or £500 for a
That's what I had in my head then.
Yeah, no, it's good to get it out. But actually, it doesn't necessarily mean it's any more waterproof or breathable than another type of technology. There's actually a big hole. I mean, some people will call this a conspiracy. I'm not into conspiracy theories, but there is something, you know, Gore-Tex have been so good at branding waterproofing. It's on everything, right?
Well, it's
and you see that little triangle, right?
Yeah.
Now, what will happen is brands like, say, Rab, and I bet this has happened to Rab because I've noticed a change. They used to use their own Pertex brand, right?
That's it,
which is pretty much the same.
Yeah.
But then Gore-Tex will say, we want you to sell Gore-Tex stuff,
right? Or
we won't provide you with the technology anymore to do it.
Really?
So and other people can make Gore-Tex now. The patent's expired, but their marketing of that little triangle, that inspels confidence. So now if you look at a lot of Rab jackets,
they've got that now.
They're Gore-Tex.
Interesting.
And they used to be
Did not know that.
But there's another type, which a Columbia jacket that I've been looking at.
Yeah.
It doesn't look very nice, but apparently it's really, it does what it says on the tin, and it functions really well as a waterproof. Anyway, tune in for more waterproof conspiracy theories next time.
Exactly. Wendy, thanks for your comments. I had some Keens. They were okay. They fell apart when I was training just 2 weeks before Langtag. Wow. Really worried. Bought some Maindels, treated with them, wax-headed Brecon Beacons. 100% waterproof, not one single issue on the hike.
Yeah.
Well, mate, you know, we did say about Maindels. No, but great. It's great that you found a boot. I mean, because there's so many different boots out there, isn't there? And I know we're talking about how to maintain them, but whilst we're on the subject of boots, there's so many varied options out there. Like when we were up in Fort William, we always take the opportunity to go and see Alice Brigham. Why not?
Yeah.
Bought a nice little base layer, this one here. And you know, you can't help but be drawn to the wall that's got like 1 million boots on it. You know, so we're there and I'm looking, and I've probably seen these boots dozens of times, but to me, going in there, still exciting. I'm like, oh, what boots they got? Look at those. They got B3s up there. They got the Phantoms. You know, so we're there talking about all these different types of boots, and you know, obviously the Maindels are pride of place there, right in the center. They stand out a mile for us, but there's so many options out there. You know, and I know we've done one all about boot selection, especially Tuesday tune-in. So definitely check that out if you're thinking about types of boots. But if you're going for the Maindel Boutin, like Wendy said there, absolute classic.
And Kate has joined, and Kate will recognise.
Kate, how you doing?
We just talked about. This is her little boots here.
Don't worry, we're not going to make these ones explode.
No, these are pride and place in the office, but they're sitting there today for.
Especially because you said they're from Harrods.
They're from Harrods, mate. Yes. This is the only thing I've ever had that's from Harrods. You know,
we need to ask. They're not on Prime Day.
I'm not entirely sure Amazon sell them, but that's another good point. Actually, it is Amazon Prime Day today, guys. So if you want to grab yourself,
I know I'm not on commission from Amazon here, but exactly. I mean, everyone loves a good Prime Day. We need our own day.
I wish I was. He could share the wealth a little bit. Old Jeff, he's got a couple of quid. But there's loads of really good trekking bargains to be had. You know, especially the technology sort of stuff. You know,
is this kind of bingo power banks?
Power banks are really good. Also like headphones and all the sort of like nitty gritty things that I really like. Cool towels, ice towels,
all those little nifty little gadgets.
Yeah.
Stuart got to checkpoint 1, fine, even though I jogged. You jogged, Stuart. It's a trekathon. Chains to overshoes for bog section was worked fantastic. Feet stay dry. Wow, mate, that's really good. Yeah, it's interesting. You mentioned feet Feet started to blister, finished challenge and bits by the end. Boots I used were Ultraline Peak, same I used on Killy, or Lone Peak. Yeah, and exactly, you know, you got it's perfect for Killy, and I think that's just the challenge of as soon as moisture gets into a boot, doesn't matter if it's leather, doesn't matter if it's synthetic or Gore-Tex, because you know if you just leave it whilst it's submerged in water. And a big point about maintenance is keeping your boots dry. Obviously, when you're out doing stuff, it's very hard to, but you've got the pre stuff, which is treating the boot, and then you've got the post stuff, which is how to essentially dry it properly. I'll go back to what I said earlier. Many times I've come through the door cold and you just want to get your wet gear off and you just put them next to the radiator. It's not always the best thing. I think sometimes if it dries too quickly, it can damage the membranes and the waterproofness. It's good to put it in a dry room, but yeah, resist the temptation of sticking them on the radiator. I remember, I know this is a skiing thing, but about 6 years ago, we were in Maribel actually, and one of the guys who had wet boots because it rained, because it's quite low down there, put them next to the fire. Melted the inner part of his boot.
Devastating.
And they're not cheap.
I'd be furious if that happened to my.
It was like,
were they rentals?
No, they were his.
Oh, gutted.
I know. Was it Alistair or Simon? I can't remember now. It was, I think it was Simon.
That'd be gutted.
He was absolutely gutted about that.
Yeah, it's interesting talking. Stuart's talking about taping the feet. I taped mine up as well to like prevent blisters. But I got so because I finished the trek because I had given my boots to that gentleman. I used the trail running shoes, which weren't waterproof, and it was like walking up a stream for about 10 miles on that section of the West Highland Way. And you saw me at the beginning trying to like step over everything, and then after a while I just thought, do you know what, sod it, and I just walked straight through ankle deep with trainers. Only because I was getting exhausted, like hopping over puddles. But the only downside was that I did blister.
It's very hard to escape it when you
really get blisters.
You rarely do.
Rarely get blisters, but for some reason this blistered me pretty savage.
Yeah, Kate, there. I've actually bought Mammut Trovats.
You had a set, didn't you?
I did. Yeah, I loved them. Bomb-proof boots. I know we're talking about exploding boots here, but they absolutely amazing boots. I'd say definitely on the probably stiff side. They're more akin to a B2 boot like this, which is the 𝘧𝘂𝘆 𝗧𝘂𝘆 Very good boot, by the way.
I use that on Toucan.
Yeah, brilliant boot.
It's mad as well, because I was talking to Smurf and the guys, and they were saying about these boots now that they're not strictly like B1, B2, B3 anymore.
It has
that boot.
It's
It's a B2 technically because it's got the welt for the crampon.
But it's a B1 as well.
It's like a B1 in terms of it's designed to sort of, you can trek it. And if you need to put crampons on it, it'll be great.
Good boot though. But you talk about the Mammut Trovat there. It's countless days I've done in mud and bogs and stuff, and it was a very, very good boot. I think because it was such a rigid boot, always your feet would be sore. So it's not one I could probably do the Glencoe challenge, 26, 27 miles in. But if you're doing a 10, 12 mile day, fine, perfect, absolutely brilliant. But yeah, great that you went for them. Well done, Kate. I know these look a little bit like Mammut Trovats, don't they? In between Mammut Trovats and the Maindels, definitely. They're kind of like a hybrid.
I think the Trovats have like a little like nice white sort of fluffy insulation almost.
They are, honestly, in winter. Like I remember, again, going back several years now, and up near with the Canadian bomber, Carmarthen vans, and absolute great place, the Brecon Beacons. The other side really compared to where Pen y Fan lies. And I was up there after it was about 2 or 3 feet of snow. And I remember having the Mammut Trovats because it was really deep snow. I had gaiters on as well, but there was kind of a reverse route. And I remember coming up over this kind of ridge, and there was a fox there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was amazing. I remember coming over, and it was literally
winter fox.
Yeah, it was. Well, it was obviously a normal fox, but it was during winter. Yeah, it was absolutely amazing, absolutely fantastic. All good.
Sorry, mate.
Is that Stevie B?
That Stevie B, videographer, messaged me.
He knows what time we do the live.
I know. Do you know what? What's amazing? There's a message there. What do I say there? Got the TTR at 12:30.
And he's still
and he's still messaging me.
So, he loves it. He loves it.
Yeah.
But yeah, with the actual boots though, I mean, so going back to the care for the boots.
Yeah.
Something as well, I think, and this depends on budget, of course, is that if you have got different types of boots, it's good to mix it up a little bit. I think it does make them last. You know, it's like wearing clothes. If you wore the same thing every day, it's not going to last forever, is it? But if you do, you know, if you do kind of put different boots on for different occasions, I think they're more likely to last longer. Like for instance, I kind of, and then pull the boot back in.
Yeah,
equilibrium
back in.
Mate, it's been good today. It's a lot of airtime. I'll use that in winter when it's certain conditions. I'll use that probably. I mean, I know I've used it in Scotland a lot, but then I'll switch to my Maindles.
Oh, sorry, mate. I'm really warm.
Are you?
I am really warm. I'm starting to feel like a little bit like
you're overheating.
It's almost like all of a sudden I just got this like fireball feeling. So
if anyone out there is hearing him, anyone could bring in a fan for Dave?
Yeah,
because he is dying in here.
That is so hot.
It is.
You're not warm.
No,
you don't suffer with it, do you? Like, cause all of a sudden, I'm worried that this T-shirt is just going to start to get like, it's just going to be like sweat.
Yeah, Lauren's coming. Like she's look at this.
What a legend.
This is someone to save Dave's life.
Yeah.
Look at this. He's overheating on the live.
Thank you, Lauren.
Lauren.
Do you want to say hello to the people? No. Thank you, Lauren. That is amazing.
Penny's in here.
Oh.
That's all right. She can stay for the time being. She's in here now. There she is.
Oh,
is that better?
Oh my god. There we are.
There we are. Dave's got it. Mate, that's your biggest fan.
That is my biggest fan. That's my only fan.
Here we are, Carl. I'm your fan, Dave.
I'm your fan, Dave. Good old Carl. Yeah. I know. I'm never without with Carl around. But yeah, awesome. What were we talking about? Looking after boots.
Looking after boots, essentially rotating them.
Yeah.
So, like I said, you've got boots for certain occasions, so you're not wearing the same ones. I think that generally extends the life.
100%, yeah. And again, there's so many different types of footwear now that you don't have to, like, occasionally you can land on a boot that's kind of your quiver killer. You know, one boot to rule them all. But actually, these days now, I'm very much, I'll be honest with you, like, and this is almost blasphemy compared to what we've said before, but I'm a fan of the trail shoe.
Get out.
I'm a fan of a trail shoe. I'm only
joking.
I actually bought a pair of Salomon Thundercross.
Yeah.
They're like the Speed Cross, but I think they're a bit more cushioned.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited about them. I don't know why, but I don't. It was.
You enjoy your trail shoes, Dave?
It was. hey, I still stick with the same advice that if I was on a trek that I paid good money for, and it's a game of margins, I'm going to 100% use the boots because I don't want to go over on an ankle or whatever. However, I do think there's an argument for, you need a pair of casual trainers on treks anyway. They may as well be your trail cross trainers.
They may as well.
And there's a section of the path that looks suitable. Then why not?
It's interesting, isn't it? You're so right. Like I'm wearing trail shoes now.
Yeah.
Obviously, in relatively stable conditions.
But you're an ankle wobbler.
But exactly. But because I've known to have it, and I've got a weakness there, I have to wear big boots.
Yeah.
As in, ankle protection.
You need the ankle protection on your right foot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, which is my dominant foot, but which is kind of strange, really. So you think when you go to plant it, and it's just if you're not consciously thinking.
Yeah.
About every step, and sometimes on a long like Glencoe challenge a few years ago. At the, I'd say, what was it? Probably about just before halfway. You're in your own mind sometimes because it's such a long period of time, and maybe and at that time I was on my own. You can just disappear into your head and you're thinking about things, and you're not thinking about what you're actually doing.
Yeah,
it's quite hard to kind of snap back and think, no, come on, focus now.
I usually find that as if I haven't eaten enough.
Yeah, could be.
And I'll start to get tired.
Yeah.
But also you can be physically tired but mentally with it, and you can be mentally with it, but or the other way around. But if I haven't eaten enough, it all goes downhill.
I see what you mean, because you lose that concentration.
I lose concentration, and that's usually when if I notice that I'm like stubbing my toe or rolling off rocks, or I'm starting to be a bit like, oh God, then usually I think, hang on, let's stop, smash some food down.
Yeah, not concentrating enough.
It makes a big difference.
That whole we're just talking about there, and I know we could do a whole live on it. Kind of being conscious of what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
It comes to comfort zone stuff sometimes, as in if you're on the kind of edge of it.
Yeah.
And you kind of the conditions are on the edge.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes that can, especially if you're not concentrating, that's when things can happen with your ankles.
You can train yourself for it though, I think if you take someone that's never walked more than 5 miles before, and then you put them on something like the Glencoe Challenge, which was 27.6, they're going to trip over a lot, right? And that's not because they can't walk, it's because of their mind hasn't been trained to do what they're doing for as long as they're doing it. So 100% I do notice the same, whereas if I gradually get longer and longer and longer treks in my training, you do notice a difference in the amount that you like are messing up and making silly mistakes.
Yeah, it can happen. It can happen. Sometimes it's also as well if you haven't been out for a while. If you're a bit rusty. It's why sometimes it's like you said, don't throw yourself in the deep end. Get out there and do a couple of practice hikes as well. Like just thinking about kind of building that into your training is quite interesting, because it kind of stepping it up.
No, 100%.
Good to see some of the EverTrek veterans as well. We got obviously Diane's on here today. We've got Andy. Andy, I hope all is well. I know it's not long, mate, till 𝘧𝘂𝘲𝘗𝘓.
Awesome.
Josh has dropped in as well. Josh, you mentioned what boot do you recommend for November 𝘧𝘂𝗲𝘆 climb?
So yeah, for November, you're potentially going to be in snow,
Potentially.
and that's going to mean crampons. The crampons that you use, they're not the technical crampons. They'll be what we call like C1s, which are the ones that have the toe cage at the front and the heel cage at the back. They're designed to work with a B1 hiking boot, which is a normal hiking boot but a bit stiffer. So I would say the 𝘦𝘮𝘧𝘦𝘐𝘐 would be a really good boot to use. There's an equivalent 𝘧𝘂𝘃 boot, sort of a brown leather one. You could also, and do you want to bring it back in?
Yeah, exactly. This is the fourth time today. The Equilibrium is we need some commission from these guys. No, exactly. Of course not. These are the 𝘧𝘂𝘃𝑆portiva Equilibriums. They have because they've got the little welt on the back, so you can see that the crampons there around the front. So if you are crampons, it needs to be like a caged crampon. Which is why they're B2s, B1s. Right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they'll use both, won't they? They'll use the cage and the cage, or you can have the lever action on the C2 crampon. They're quite stiff for a hiking boot.
I've used them on very steep ground in the Cairngorms.
But what I like about these is for November, they've got quite a decent amount of insulation. You wouldn't want to use them winter in the Cairngorms, perhaps. But November on 𝘧𝘂𝗲𝘆, they're quite good. Really beefy tread, which is really good for grip. Tough toes, ankle protection. These are great. But also like 𝘦𝘮𝘮𝘍𝑚𝑒𝑡 𝘠𝑡𝑎𝑛s, Mammut Trovats. There's a leather scarper. I forget the name of it now, but it's something GTX. They're pretty good.
Yeah, it's Claire's on here as well. I know Andy's put on here. Hey, Cornish Teapot here. Thanks for a great Snowdonia trip, Claire. Claire, pleasure to meet you, mate. Great. We had a great weekend. That was brilliant.
Really good one. That was actually one of the first sort of Snowdonia regular training weekends. I say the regular because we've been up there for winter skills before, but normally we do our ones in Brecon, and we did it in Snowdonia. And I got to be honest, aside from the drive home, it's probably one of my favourite.
It was great weekend. Great group as well. Great to meet. Also Sam as well. I think is doing 𝘧𝘂𝘲𝘃𝘲 in a couple of days. He's it's great to hear about people's journeys and planning for the trip.
Claire, is she doing Mera or Island Peak as well?
She is doing Mera.
I think you're doing Mera.
Claire, you'll have to correct now. If I remember, we were talking about it. But she's doing one of our trekking.
I know. It's hard. Awesome. A few weeks after the event, it's hard to remember the name to the face, but I'm pretty sure Claire. Savage Fitness.
Good fitness.
Savage Fitness.
And can make some nice tea as well.
Why not?
A nice teapot, definitely. But yeah, it's Diane's similar to you. Needs food before it's so true, isn't it? I was like that this morning. I felt a bit hangry, so I brought my lunch a little bit earlier, and I was fine.
Yeah, I remember we were trying to give you a little bit of feedback on something you were working on, and Andy was not fed for feedback.
I wasn't in feedback zone.
No, you weren't in feedback zone. Yeah, well, you can tell because when you've worked really hard on something and then you're hungry and hangry, and someone comes up and says, "Change that, change that, change that," it's like,
it's all good stuff. It's all good stuff.
Yeah, but
no, protective, like we are over our boots, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think that nutrition is really good as well. I mean, I am one of those ones that finds it. If I'm really fatigued, I struggle to eat for some reason. Like if I'm really knackered and exhausted, I get to a point where I kind of stop eating and drinking, and I think a lot of people get like that.
Yeah, that's true. That's
so what I've found is to fix that problem, rather than having set lunches like across the day, is to snack throughout the day, a little and often, and that keeps the energy up. And it stops when you have a big breakfast. Your kind of energy's going down until you have lunch, and then it goes down, and then. But actually, if you snack throughout the day, you'll keep yourself at a decent level. So yeah. That's kind of my new technique.
Mate, it's good. Lance mentioned there, really interesting topic. Doing 100 miles the Welsh coast. Oh, mate, that sounds amazing.
It's amazing, yeah.
Raise awareness of MND.
Such a good cause.
Tourmaline, trail shoes or boots. Yeah, appreciate the comments. Great stuff. Yeah, I think if you're doing something that long, and there's times where, you know, it's like driving sometimes, isn't it? You know, you're concentrating on where you're going, if you're indicating, if you're turning. But sometimes you've got sort of, you're like, oh, I'm here. Sometimes it's crazy, right? And it shouldn't be that way. But it's because you haven't been mindful of what you're doing. I've done it a few times. And I'm like, how the hell did I get here? Oh, yeah. And I thought about the journey then. But being conscious of everything is hard 100% of the time. It's good to practice it and be mindful of what you're conscious of what you're doing. But I think, yeah, if you have got a history with, you know, some injuries or ankle injuries, muscular injuries, maybe you've got hip different, maybe your kind of gait is a little off, who knows? There could be something. You only need to be a little bit off when you roll an ankle. Yeah. And, you know, I know there's a lot of trail runners out there, a lot of people who swear by trail running shoes, and that's, you know, and they're perfectly fine, but it's just sometimes it does take that one moment, and it's kind of
like I said, you know? I've recently converted.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a full convert. Well, what I mean is that I think.
Hey, Jim, how you doing?
There is a time and a place for both.
Yeah.
So almost certainly across 100 miles of Welsh coastal path, there'll be moments where you're really probably going to want boots.
Yeah.
But also, you know, if you're doing this over multiple days or in one go, I mean, you can get a set of trail shoes these days, like, you know, 𝘧𝘂𝘀 or something like that weigh next to nothing.
It's true.
And you can even strap them on the outside of your bag.
Yeah.
And what I really like is we don't have, like, sometimes when you're starting out, particularly at 100-mile thing, you know, it's nervy to think, well, I've got to take one set of footwear that's going to last me the whole way. But you don't know. What if after 50 miles, your feet have slightly changed, you're getting blisters, they're really uncomfortable? It'd be good to have the option to slip into something that's going to give you a bit of respite from that. So if it were me, Lance, I'd be thinking, go for both. Just go lightweight.
Yeah.
And consider taking both. And that way you're going to have something that you can sort of revert to if either one of them starts to work against you, which can happen on a long trek. You know, the boots can change shape, your feet can change shape. You can get wet, and then all sorts of issues. So yeah, but mate,
good stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah, Jim, great to apologies. I know we missed you on the Great Glencoe challenge as well, but I saw some pictures yesterday, and I saw you, and it was right at the front of the start of the 𝘬𝘐𝐵. I was like, he's going to finish in 7 hours.
Yeah.
I think you did, Jim, didn't you? What was it, like 7.5 hours or something like that? But mate, well done. Good man. I know you were on it. It took us a little bit longer. I just to own up to yeah, it definitely took us a little bit longer than that.
I had to save those orphans though halfway around. That's why I lost good 2.5 hours there. So otherwise I'd have smashed him. Yeah, I was right on his tail. He didn't notice them.
You had to save these boots, right?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it. Nice. So ticking them off. I remember ticking them off. Yeah, smashing through it. Yeah, 10 years old. Can I recommend?
Yeah, hey Leo, how you doing?
A good boot that would last for kids who hike a lot. Issue with kids is at 10 years old, you know, you're gonna outgrow them. Yeah. So to me, I would be more inclined to go for anything that's comfortable, lightweight, and not too expensive, and just keep burning through them until your feet stabilize in terms of size. Yeah,
there are certain options. I mean, my daughter's 11 and similar problem. We were up in 𝘬𝘗𝘁 in Scotland. I think it was around when was it, February, March time. We were out in the 𝘩𝘗𝘁𝘆 for a week, and we went to try and get some new boots and things like that. There's so many different options. Again, like we were talking earlier about, you know, for adults there's lots of options, but for kids, and as Dave said, because your feet are growing still, you know, you're going to get some that they kind of fit really well, and then maybe 6 months down the line it might be completely different. So, you know, it's something to consider. But there are so many other makes out there. It's worth just getting to a store, getting some proper advice on it from the guys there. They'll probably be able to go, oh, you know, maybe even if you wear some thick socks for a slightly smaller shoe for 6 months, and then by the time you grow into it, then you've got a little bit more time potentially. So it gives you, lasts for at least a year and a half. Yeah, something to consider, speaking to your parents and getting that. And I'd go into a store. They'll give you some advice there. And I know we're talking from our experience here, just in terms of equipment, but like if you go into like an Ellis Brigham store or Cotswold Outdoor store or Alp Kit, you know, wherever you go, they're you know, they're the equipment specialists. They'll be able to kind of say, okay, I recommend this. And, they're the experts, you know. So yeah, mate, I'd do that. 100%. Go there with your parents. They'll be able to sort you out.
Awesome.
Great stuff. Well, look, whilst we're here, we've got a couple of things to talk about today. We've obviously talked about the boots themselves, but it'd be amiss if I didn't bring this up, Dave. If I can bring it in, here we go.
This is the bit that everyone else in the office cares about. They don't want to talk about.
No. I think the EverTrekkers care about it as well, because this
bit.
This is awesome, because obviously last couple of years, you know, we've been heavily involved and with the British Travel Awards. We're very privileged to you know, to win a couple of times now over the last couple of years, which has been great. But we always like to continue this, and you know, whenever we go for an award, and we're up for 2 this year, which is awesome, for Best Adventure Holiday Company, which is great, and the other one is Best Adventure for Sports Holidays. So yeah, they did away with the Best Trekking Company, which we won in the last year. But they stopped doing that. So Adventure Holidays and Sports Pursuit Holidays is kind of the ones now we're up for. It'd be great if you voted for us. I know a lot of you have voted for us already, but it would be fantastic. So I'll leave that up there.
Yep.
But yeah, you can literally search bit.ly/vote EverTrek 2024. That's 2024. If you're listening to this on the podcast, yeah, it'd be great if you could vote for us. It always means a lot if we win.
Yeah, it makes a big difference as well, each vote. I think we lost by a very slim margin last time.
Last year, yeah, which was,
you know,
which was tough.
Which was annoying, because I was sitting there thinking, God, if Jimbo Blues had just voted for us, you know, we'd have
I'm
won.
sure he did. No, if we've helped you in some way, even on the Tuesday tune in, obviously if you've been on a trip for us, with us, you know, you've enjoyed EverTrek in some way, you know, and you feel like we deserve to win one of those. It'd be awesome if you could vote for us. So yeah, great stuff. Also as well, whilst talking about announcements, I'll leave that there for a second. Obviously this is July, summer. We always like to try and mix it up a little bit with, you know, people who are booking trips, and for all trips in July that over £1,600, we're offering. So we've got in touch with Ellis Brigham. We actually did, myself, Dave. We went to 3 of the Ellis Brigham stores.
Yep.
We went to Bristol, Manchester, and Kensington in London, and we did a little talk on Kilimanjaro.
Yep. And
we talked about specific things, equipment, you know, obviously taking on Kilimanjaro, altitude, you know, a few stuff like that. And off the back of that, then with Ellis Brigham, we've managed to get some equipment vouchers. So for July, for anyone that does book, obviously you can't use it with any other discount, but if you are booking onto a trip in July, you do get a £75 Ellis Brigham voucher. So whilst we're talking about boots and equipment, it's always good to bring out, you can get something awesome. You can get 75 quid for free. So,
yeah, exactly.
Which is pretty cool. So yeah, if you are booking a trip, if you're booking it in July, then get yourself in and you'll get the £75 Ellis Brigham.
Awesome. Nice that was brought in a little while after I went to Nepal. So, yeah.
Sorry, David.
No, it's fine, mate. It's fine. It's all good.
Brilliant. What's this, Jim? See you on the Black Mountain Challenge next year. Oh, mate, you'll have to share some details.
Oh, God.
You'll just run away again.
Don't get him started, Jim. Like, I actually wasn't going to do, even though I really wanted to prove that I could do it with the knee, I really was not going to do the Glencoe Challenge again. I got bullied into it. Remember, I was going to go mountain biking.
This is the Black Mountain Challenge.
Yeah, but it's going to be something the same. But
you're going to have a quick Google.
I'm going to see what's going on. Yeah.
Okay. Well, look, any other questions, guys, do drop in the comments. Anything at all. I know we've talked about exploding boots, amongst other things, but yeah, anything at all, do drop in. There were a couple of things around, and it's just, again, bringing it back to equipment, especially around Ellis Brigham, is that I've noticed quite a lot of stores now. You're thinking about longevity and thinking about...
It's a no from me.
Well, what is it?
It's a 145-mile route starting in Abergavenny.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah. Honestly,
is it a running one, or was it Trek?
Not interested. I'll tell you.
I'll have a look.
I'll tell you what, Jim. If you're doing that, mate, I will personally get the weekend off and be his backup. So, like, I'll meet you with a vehicle for your snacks and stuff.
You can be base camp support.
Yeah, I'll be base camp support.
Base camp. There we are. You got an offer there.
Yeah, exactly.
Base camp support. It's not a million miles away from us, so yeah, that's good. It's good you're ready. See how many EverTrekkers we can get on it.
I will happily support Jim to win that race. I'll do whatever I can, as long as it doesn't mean lacing up myself.
Exactly. What I was talking about there was we're in Ellis Brigham in Fort William. And I know a few stores are doing this as well, around being more sustainable. Obviously, that's not the one, Dave. No, it's not the one. It must be a different one.
It's got to be a different one then.
You'll have to maybe share the link, Jim, if you can.
Yeah, because I've found quite a few of them.
but basically, a lot of people now, especially like 𝘦𝘮𝘍𝘍, 𝘧𝘂𝘍𝘍, 𝗏 are big on it. Obviously, you've got Patagonia. Any, outdoor equipment make now are clearly trying to make things more sustainable. And I noticed that a lot of equipment stores now are actually selling and trying to kind of very cheaply actually 𝘧𝘂𝘲 boots. So just an example, there was quite a lot of B2 boots in Fort William, and they were like £40, and they were fine. But they had another few years.
And B3s.
And B3s. They were really good boots. So if you are ever in Fort William or another place where they could have 𝘧𝘂𝘲 equipment, you can snap a good deal. There was some really high-end boots there that would normally cost 600 quid, and they were £40. Okay, they've been around a bit. They're 𝘧𝘂𝘲, but they're more than capable for the next 2 or 3 years. If you're looking to get some expensive boots but cheaper, if that makes sense. Oh, there we go. That sounds amazing.
This is starting to sound more and more doable here.
You're getting Dave on side now. He's now gone from base camp. What are you at, camp 1 now?
Yeah, I'm at camp 1 now. Yeah. So
Can
the
we get
Big
into
Black
the summit?
Mountains Challenge 2025. I could do this. I'm quite happy to try this.
This looks good.
18 miles was it? Is that what it was?
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
I say that's all it is.
That's all it is.
I mean, well, after doing the Great Glencoe Challenge, it's which is long, and it was my 4th time doing that. Yeah, you definitely, anything 18 miles now seems like it's just a walk to the shops.
Yeah, exactly.
Brilliant. Well, look, thanks for sharing all that. I hope it's been useful today. Unless there are any other questions, Dave, any final thoughts on exploding boots?
Yeah, try and avoid it at all costs. It's a ruddy nightmare. But yeah, no, honestly, there's like I said, there's you don't, as long as you give yourself options, you choose the right boots for the right event. There's no harm in buying 1 or 2 pairs over time. You're not going to want a big heavy winter pair for a nice quick light warm day. Equally, you wouldn't want the reverse option. So yeah, just get the right boots for the right event. Look after them. It does take a little bit of effort post trek to be bothered to go and pick up those wet boots out the carrier bag and actually put some care into them. But even if you get to it a couple of days later, it's better than nothing. So yeah, and you'll extend the life of them for years and years and years. That guy, although they exploded, 10 years he had them.
10 years. That's pretty good going, actually. I've definitely had boots that haven't lasted that long, that's for sure. Yeah. But no, it's a really good point. And like Dave said, if some of that hopefully is a little bit useful, if you're probably doing it already, I suppose it just brings it to the fore really around how to care for boots, how to make them last longer. Before we leave, do tag us if you are posting on Instagram, Facebook. Be great to see where you're up to. So don't forget to tag us at EverTrek UK. Be great for just to see where you're at. See, especially if you're doing your training or you're on one of our trips. It's always good to see where you're at. We like to see as well. We don't get all the pictures. Sometimes we get some from our teams in country, but it's always good just to see your side of it as well. And quirky little shots of cows and yaks and llamas, whatever it is. It'd be great from here from you. Yes, don't forget to tag us at EverTrek UK.
Awesome. Yeah.
Cheers, Dave. Great to be back.
Nice one.
Be back next week. Thank you so much, everyone. Hope it's been useful. And we'll catch you guys next.